Hey guys, welcome back to the Skinny Truth Podcast. I'm here with Dr. Josh Roller, and it may look a little different than normal. We are actually on site in Arkansas, and we are having our very first guest today. And we're going to talk about spouses along on the bariatric journey or the weight loss journey.
All right, so it is our pleasure to have with us for the first time our first guest, and one of my all-star patients that she's just done incredible, but I'd like to introduce everybody to Tiffany Baird and her husband, Stephan. And what we really want to focus on today is not just Tiffany's success, but what it was like for Stephan to go through. Because one of the most important things is having a good support environment, having everybody around you on board, and just kind of what was that like ahead of time. So let's just start with, when was your surgery and what surgery did you have?
My surgery was the modified duodenal switch,
Okay.
and I had surgery March 30th, 2022.
And why do you remember March 30th so well?
Because that was the morning of the worst tornado we've ever seen in this area. And when I arrived at 5 a.m., the hospital was on generators.
Yep.
And my surgery was supposed to be at 7, but you pushed it back till 11.
Yep. Just to make sure we had power
Yep.
to do the surgery. You don't want the generators to go down. So she really remembers her date. Most people do. What was kind of like your aha moment or the day that you thought, hey, I want to have bariatric surgery? What was going on in your life? Just kind of tell us about that.
So it was the summer of 2020. We went to Branson with my husband's family, and we've got lots of littles that run around, and we went to some different amusement parks, and one of them had underground tunnels, and I got stuck. I couldn't pull myself out. He had to help me get out of there. So when we got back from that trip, I knew we had to really make some changes and start thinking about different things, because I've done every diet twice or 3 times. I always love to work out. I love to be in the gym, but nothing ever really worked or stuck. So when we got back, it was a couple weeks after that, we started talking about, let me see what our insurance will cover. Let me see if we can make this happen. But it was 2 years before we actually pulled the trigger.
So 2 years from the moment that happened, or 2 years before that you had been thinking about it?
2 years from that moment.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I tried other things as well, like going through it. But when we just had a really hard conversation that he wanted me around for him and for our son, that we've got to do something a lot different.
Okay, Stephan, how did you feel when she decided to have bariatric surgery?
So I was definitely apprehensive. I mean, the word surgery in itself is a scary word. But with us being able to talk about it, talk through it, and I mean, I've been with her side by side through all the different diets, all the yo-yo, all the, I'm losing what I want to lose, and then the disappointment of it coming back the same or even more, and just being side by side with that journey. It's hard on a spouse because I want her to succeed and I want her to be happy. So those diets, they just weren't working. So we did the research on, who's the best weight loss surgeon, obviously sitting to my right here. And we just started going through, like she said, like, what's the budget look like? What's the insurance look like? What can we do to make this happen? I was, besides the surgery part, very excited for her.
I'm going to ask you, did you ever struggle with your weight?
I did not.
Okay.
I've been an athlete and had high metabolism and all those kind of things. But I can tell you, going through the diets with her, it actually helped me because we do everything together. So if she's on a diet, I'm on a diet.
Right.
No, if she's keto, I'm keto.
Yeah.
We're doing it
Absolutely.
together.
I get that.
It's a journey together.
Yes.
So you guys met in high
Sen-
school?
Yep, senior year of high school.
Okay. So what was your kind of weight status at that time in high school?
I was 165,
Okay.
which right now I'm 140.
All right.
And I was more
Better
muscular.
than high school.
Yeah.
We were both athletes, and so I was probably not this lean, but definitely not at 317.
Okay, so that was your high weight, was 317. So when you guys met, so he's known you through all the different sizes,
Yes.
basically, from 165 to 317 to
Jumping around.
down to right, and all the yo-yos in between. So obviously you knew that your weight didn't matter to him,
Correct.
right?
Yes.
And so that is helpful, because it can be an issue, I think, for some spouses, when they get married to somebody at a certain size, and all of a sudden their size is going to change drastically, or the lifestyle is going to change drastically. But you just said it. Your lifestyle is her lifestyle, and that's kind of how spouses work. I mean, whatever I have for dinner is whatever Kristen made.
Right.
There's not a difference.
Nothing else.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and with us too, I do a lot of the cooking. So, because I love to cook.
Right.
And, in that is I've got to think about like what diet are we on this month? Like how are we cooking this meal? Or, and then not to jump ahead too much, but now post surgery, it's even been helpful because we know we got to get the protein in, we got to get green vegetables in, and it's helped me be healthier.
So, do you have children?
Yes, we have one son.
Okay.
He's 7.5.
Okay. So, how did you navigate that? So, he was probably like 5 when you had surgery. How did you navigate like telling him what was going on?
We didn't really tell him.
Need to know basis.
Right.
Kind of.
Yeah.
So he's actually on the spectrum, and so I
Okay.
didn't know if he would fully grasp it.
Right.
And so we didn't really talk about it. But I do wonder what he thinks of me now versus previous.
Right.
You know?
Does he ever say anything? No.
Just
Because
Mommy,
it
I
is a
love you.
gradual change for the kids. Like they see you every day, so it's not as drastic as, the before and after. What challenges did you face as far as like the diet goes post-op with your husband and your son?
Well, my son's a picky eater, so we are. What is it called? Quick chefs or
Short order cooks,
Yes.
yes.
So yeah, he gets what he wants. But challenges. I feel like it was a lot of like. Of course, the first 2 weeks are just like the hardest 2 weeks.
The
of your
worst
life.
part.
The worst part. I can't any more sweets. I don't want anything sweet.
Yes.
But I think we did really well. I didn't feel like there was a whole lot. It's all mental, and you have to execute the program, but we did it because this was it. I wasn't going to mess around, So he was such a big help because, like you said, he's the cook. I'm not a cook at all. I don't do
I
it
get
very
that.
well.
Same for us.
But we had the roller patient handbook in a notebook with page protectors. We had it with us all the time. And so he would just make up a menu and we would all eat that. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
So he pretty much from that point ate what you ate, followed your plan.
Yeah, sometimes he'd throw in some pasta or some potatoes for himself, but he did the meat and veggies with me.
Well, and the post-op diet is really a diet or a food plan that works for anybody. High protein, low carb, it's good for the entire family. And that'll be another episode down the road is food choices and this and that for the entire family and how to keep everyone healthy. But you may not like certain proteins. Our family doesn't like fish. I like fish, but I don't ever get it because 4 out of the 3 daughters and a wife. So we don't have that. But between chicken and beef and all that kind of stuff. So, did your diet change? Let's ask this. How is it now compared to before surgery? I know when you weren't dieting, was it?
Oh my gosh. It was convenience for me. I love Taco Bell. It's my favorite, but can't have that anymore. It was kind of just like eating out of comfort and addiction. And, that's a real thing. You eat all the bad stuff because I know there's some kind of connection with your cravings and what you're eating. And that's a vicious cycle and all of that. But now it's a lot cleaner.
Okay, so now we're going to get into some touchy-feely kind of stuff.
Okay.
And I am not a therapist, so this is probably not my best role. But how would you say your relationship has changed since your surgery and all the successful weight loss?
He's got his wife back. He's got me, my real person. I always say my insides and my outsides match now.
Yeah.
I love that.
The confidence has come back. Even so much like I feel weird when I get checked out by people. Like, people look at me, you know what I mean? It's
You're
uncomfortable.
like, this hasn't happened before.
Right.
Yes.
And, but I think we're stronger than ever. And, we've always been best friends, but this has really made a big difference. Like, I'm not laying on the couch. I'm not laying in bed. We're going and doing stuff, throwing ball with our son. And going on Jeep rides and, just
Living life.
living life.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, and those things are huge. I mean, being able to, because like we had talked about, when we met, we were athletic, and I've always kind of been a skinny person, and it's kind of frustrating and also heart-wrenching whenever it's like, hey, babe, let's go do this. Let's go to the park. Let's go do these kind of things, because I'm like, got some energy, I'm ready to go. And she just, I mean, her body is keeping her from doing that. Her mentally she wants to, but physically is where a lot of those restraints were. And it's for a spouse that it's hard. It's like, I know you're in there.
Right.
Let's get you out here. Let's,
Yeah.
like she said, let's have the insides match the outsides. Yeah,
So what's it like now?
it's great. I mean, it was great before. I don't want
Yeah.
to come off that way.
No, yeah,
but
absolutely
I
not.
mean, we, like she said, we go out, with our son and throw the ball in the yard, and we go to the park, and we go to like the trampoline park and do all that kind of stuff, and we're doing it all together. She's not stuck on the sideline.
Do you feel like she's come out of her shell?
Definitely. Oh, 110%. Yeah.
Do you feel like you guys have more fun?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
And that's one of the things that I see a lot with obesity is it's not that the marriage is bad or boring. Everybody still loves each other, but it's a slow withdrawal from society. I know
From life.
we've talked about that, but you don't realize how much you're not doing until you start doing it again.
Exactly.
Have you guys experienced that?
Oh, yeah.
That piece of it?
Yes.
So this brings up a subject like social gatherings. Did you, when you were overweight, did you go to social gatherings, or did you try to like steer away from those things?
I did, but I was particular on where I went and who I was going to be with.
Has that changed now?
Now I'm like, let's go.
Yeah.
Come on, let's go. And we're going to real estate events and getting to shop and wear really cool outfits and being proud and,
Yes.
smiling and just having a good time. Yeah.
So, Stephen, what are the biggest changes, we've kind of talked about this, that you've seen in her since her weight loss?
I think the biggest would be just her attitude and outgoing, and I knew it was in there because like we talked about, we met in high school, and that's the Tiffany that I know. And once she hit a stride post surgery, it was just like a light switch. I mean, she was just like, yeah, let's go do stuff. I love the way I look in the mirror. It just so many things just clicked, and it was just like, all right, like let's go. You want to go do something? Let's go do it.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Able to finally live life.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, any changes post surgery, this is for Stephen, that you weren't prepared for after surgery that she went through?
I mean, we went through pre-op. Like she said, we printed it out and laminated it. So a lot of the medical kind of stuff, I understood was going to happen. I knew kind of the process we're going to go through, that part of it. I mean, what I wasn't ready for is getting Tiffany back. That's what I wasn't ready for. I mean, we had become complacent on, okay, well, there's stuff you can't do. There's certain things, we can go to these certain events. Like you talked about, these we're not going to go to because we don't necessarily know. We don't have a bunch of best friends here that already know you as you. So it was all positive. I mean, it was just, let's go. Yeah, let's.
What were there any fears that you had? What was your biggest concern about surgery?
Not being successful.
Right.
That was one of my biggest ones. I've watched all the dieting. I've been with her side by side, and just when you think it's going to work, it doesn't. The yo-yo. So I know it's surgery, and I know it's more than just, hey, we need to eat different.
Right.
But that's still in the back of your mind, especially years and years of going through all the different diets.
That was like our last episode, fear of failure.
Yeah,
and
fear of failure.
how it comes back.
Fear of regain.
Right.
Yeah.
It's there, it not working. But you've experienced what 99.9% of patients that suffer from obesity go through is failure, because honestly, less than 1% of patients, have that BMI over 35, are successful with a diet. Bodies just fight against you. It just changes. And so I hear that all the time. In fact, I just probably saw it posted recently, either on your page or our page, like, what if this doesn't work? And so was that one of your fears, Tiffany?
I didn't really have that fear.
Okay.
because I was watching a lot of bariatric patients, you know, with their success, different, not even your patients, just kind of on social media. And I was like, what if I don't ever give this a chance? Like, I got to try it. You know, I have to just see if this is going to work, because I've tried everything else.
Right.
So, no, I didn't have that fear. In my gut, my new small gut, I just had a good feeling about this, for sure.
Well, you tried everything else. Like, this is it.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to work.
I just knew.
And I'll tell a story here real quick about Tiffany's pre-op appointment. She didn't bring Stephan. She brought her mom, which is always far harder than the husband. So do you remember what your mom was talking about during that pre-op?
She said, "Isn't this so dangerous? Like, Dr. Roller, this has got to be so dangerous." And he goes, "Lisa, before I even pull up her chart, it's going to be knee replacement, hip replacement, stroke, heart attack, diabetes, the whole gambit." And she went silent.
Is that normal for her?
That is not
Normal for her. You know that answer.
It's like, I can't argue this now. So how did your mom feel when you initially told her that you were going to have surgery?
She was not happy. She
Okay.
thought it was an elective surgery. She thought, try Weight Watchers again, try keto again. I'm like, I've done everything like twice, some 3 times. So she was not on board in the beginning.
Okay.
But he and I made the decision together as a couple for my health and for my longevity that we were going to go forward with it. And so I decided to make her part of the journey instead of excluding her. And so the first time she ever met Dr. Roller was at that pre-op appointment. Then she was my nurse in the hospital. Like, she stayed with me because, he had to work and take care of Kason and on our son. So I think making her a part of the journey was the best decision I ever could have made.
How did you handle? So did you guys break it to her together?
Yes.
Okay.
We were in her living room, and I was sitting on the fireplace mantle, like sitting there looking at her. And it was, she
about fell over?
Yes, she did, almost.
Did she just not? Because sometimes, you just don't think about somebody's weight. This is Tiffany. Like, maybe not realize the extent, of your health problems at that time and your weight and how it was impacting you.
So my whole family, most of our family is considered medically obese.
Okay.
And so I think that she just didn't even consider it to be an option,
Right.
for like, no kid of mine is going to have surgery like that. But I also think that she thought, like, back in the day, I know they used to cut you sternum to, all the way down your stomach. And
yep.
so it was like an open thing, and it was 2 weeks of recovery at least and all of that. But, I had all the facts before I came to her. I had all the information before I said, hey, I'm thinking about this.
So you got your story straight.
Yes.
We used to say that when we were out in high school before we went home and all the
Right.
moms
Everyone's
started
got to be on the
talking.
same
Saying.
page.
Get your story straight.
Right.
Yeah.
One slip up and we're all in
Yep.
trouble.
Yeah.
Yep.
And what do you think, was it that visit where obviously she wasn't going to intervene and stop, she wasn't like that, but where do you think she got on board?
I think when she talked to you.
Okay.
I think when you explained where I was heading, thank God I didn't have any crazy medical conditions before surgery,
Right.
but I was headed that way.
So that's the thing. When you do have family members, partners, spouses that maybe not on board, I think she did it perfect by including her.
Right.
Like, hey, if you've got questions, then you come ask the surgeon. Because my questions are answered. I'm doing this. But if you have questions, you do. So we encourage family members to come. Maybe not like 9 of them, but, 1 or 2 is good. We want, because those are the people that are going to help take care of you.
And having a support, yes, you have to, like, I know there are people that go through bariatric surgery by themselves.
It's hard.
I don't know if they have success or how they have success, because it takes a village. It takes at least one person
It really does.
to help. So I had surgery on I got home on a Thursday. And then Stephan and my dad took our son down to Fort Smith to a Jurassic Quest type of thing, so I could just kind of chill, for a day. But having a support system is key in this. It really, really is.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine going through that journey I know some people do on their own, but hats off to them, because it's life changing, but it also takes the work that you got to put into it. And if you don't have a support system, oh my gosh, I couldn't even.
Without a doubt.
Absolutely. Okay, Stephen. So, what would you tell a family member of someone that was not terrified of their loved ones having surgery? Now that you've been through it, seen her go through it, what would you tell them?
So recently, we actually had some friends where the partner went through the surgery, and I spoke with the partner, and he was very apprehensive. Like, of course, the surgery word.
Right.
We keep coming back to that. That's a scary word. And then also, again, with success rate, stuff like that, just kind of machine gun fired a bunch of questions at me. And I said, hey, it's going to be okay. I promise you. They do this daily. This is not some crazy surgery that happens once a year. I mean, this is routine.
Right.
And this will be the best decision that you've made in your life. And across most bariatric patients that I've spoken with, they say, I wish I would have done it sooner.
Absolutely. Yeah.
For sure.
For sure. So this is kind of a topic that kind of you hear around in the bariatric community, divorce rates after bariatric surgery. And with you being thinner your whole life, and then she was overweight, did the thought ever cross your mind, like divorce after? Like, how did you feel about that?
Never crossed my mind. We've always had such a strong partnership, and we've been friends since high school. I was worried about her getting hotter than I am, so which she obviously did.
I have the same issue.
But no, it was great. Everything's been 100% positive. I've got Tiffany back.
Yeah.
I've got the Tiffany I met back in high school. I've got her back, and I can't say anything but just great things about it.
Okay, so here is, I'm going to put you on the spot.
Okay.
Okay.
Here we go.
And this will be like, how do you both handle a situation where, because bariatric patients are human, you will make bad choices. So and I'm sure in 2 years, you have made a bad food choice, probably in front of him. How do you handle that when you see her make a bad food choice?
So she's obviously an adult and can make her own choices.
Right.
But I remind her of the journey, and really specifically the 2 weeks after surgery. You put yourself through this. You started this journey. You put yourself through those hard 2 weeks. We don't need to digress. We don't need to go backwards. Now, if you want to eat that, that's fine. That's your choice. But you're going to hear it from. I'm going to say something. I'm not just going to sit there and watch, because we both went through the journey. We both were
part of it.
Yeah. So.
Okay. So then, Tiffany, how do you keep yourself from wanting to rip his head off when he says something like that?
Well, I know that when I make bad food choices, I pay for it.
Right.
Your stomach will not let you.
Let you know.
Yeah. I mean, you're not happy.
Right.
So it's like, how bad do I really, really, really want this? But he's been my biggest supporter. So I don't want to rip his head off. I'm like, mind your business sometimes.
Right.
But the bad choices are not worth it.
Right.
I
think that is somewhere, because, when you make a bad choice, if your partner, your spouse, doesn't say anything, are they helping you sabotage yourself and enabling the bad behavior? Or do you have to wait for 2 or 3 times the bad choices before you say something? And that is a conversation I will have with most. I love it when couples do it together. Like, I absolutely think it's the best way to do it. However, your husband doesn't need weight loss surgery, so it's a different scenario. He's never faced exactly what you faced, but he knows what you went through. So how does he? I tell the person having the surgery, you've got to let your partner, your spouse, your significant other, your mother, your father, whoever's going with this, you've got to allow them to say something and not get mad and upset with them for speaking their mind and trying to get you back on track, because maybe it is just a bite or one night. But what happens on the second night? What if you have to say something on the 7th time? And that's really important, probably to set those boundaries ahead of time. I would say. I mean, you probably had the same thing.
Yeah, because I obviously went through it first, and then Luke came around after. And I even catch myself, like, if Luke wants to eat something different, because we are human. I mean, we are. And I'll say something, and it's not to, like, judge, or you're looking out for the best of them and remembering, like, where you came from and how hard it was to get there. Those choices just aren't worth it. And one bad choice really can lead to multiple bad choices.
And it's really too how you approach
Yes.
saying something.
Yes.
I mean, I'm not her surgeon, police.
Right.
You know, it's
Yeah.
we're partners in this journey. Like,
Yes,
that's how it should be approached. Like, hey, babe, like, do you really think that's the best choice? Like, think about, you know, what we've been through together and all this kind of journey stuff. So it's really all about the approach. I mean,
Right.
because you don't want to bark at someone and be like, hey, what are you doing?
Right.
Like, what do you think you're doing? Like, no, that's not ever going to come across with anybody in a good way.
Yeah.
But I think too, like, always being in that mental space of overweight and insecure and all of that. I know, at least I know him very well, that he tries not to approach it as, what are you doing? Like, to make you feel judgy. Yeah. To make you feel insecure and like you want to go hide in a hole again, even though you've had all the success. But, you know, I think he does a good job of approaching it well. And he cooks really well too. So
He's a good cook.
yeah, he's a good cook.
I am not. But, you know, I can't relate to this from a weight loss surgery standpoint, but I can from an exercise standpoint. And, you know, I work out pretty much with my wife, Kristen, every day. We do some sort of Peloton stuff. But there is the days I get home, I'm tired. She's like, come on, let's go up there. I'm like, not in a million years. I'm not going up there. And she's like, oh, come on. And you're just like, oh, man, she is very persistent, but okay. And then I'm so glad that I did it. And it literally may be the very next day that I'm the one nagging her. And I think that's you know, he's not had the weight loss surgery, but he still could make bad food choices where you're saying, hey, or same for he wants to, you know, order your son something that they shouldn't have. I mean, we always, and kids are kids. That's another episode too. But I mean, there's choices and you got to be able to communicate. So, I mean, I'm sure you've had to get onto him for stuff too.
Yeah.
Like,
I
hey,
mean,
don't bring that around.
And I mean, he was mostly good during my post-op diet. He didn't like bring stuff home. But he,
Show up with a Big Mac or something.
yeah,
like
I
that,
mean,
you know?
and
You would be stunned at how often that happens.
well, I remember you telling me a story about someone that brought a patient Burger King the day after their surgery.
Brought it into the room.
Into the room.
And ate it in front of him.
Like, I can't imagine that.
Yeah, we see that. And I mean, so ultimately back to your question about divorces, what I would tell people when they ask that is, well, do you have a good marriage right now? Because good marriages last, bad marriages don't. And so I think a lot of people want to blame the obesity for the problems in their marriage. And then when the obesity goes away, it's like, uh-oh, now we see real problems. What do we blame now? And, you know, the national divorce rate's over 50% anyway. So I don't think bariatric surgery causes it. It may unmask some issues, potentially, but that's all that's happening. And so good marriages survive and I think get better and stronger.
100%.
I agree.
I think you two are just living examples. I think you and
Yep.
Luke are living examples of how bariatric surgery saves lives and saves marriages and families.
Yeah,
So.
absolutely.
Just being able to get on the floor with our son and build Legos with him and not have to have such a fight to get up off the floor. I would say the one thing now that was my bony bottom. Sometimes it hurts to sit on the floor with him.
Right.
But just, you know, and like we said, playing sports with them and teaching him the things that we used to do as kids and getting outside and not being so winded and all of that. I know it's a different episode, but that's been great, don't you think?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, in that Silver Dollar City story, we see that every week. Going to the amusement park, like what was your aha moment? You went to the amusement park, got on the ride with your kid, and the latch doesn't close.
That's happened to me before.
Yeah, it's and then you got to get off, and usually your kid has to get off with you because they need an adult, and it is I've seen it happen. I've witnessed it, and it is one of the most gut wrenching. And I wasn't even going through it. It was awful, but we will have that story once a week of an amusement park. That's what I love on our social media pages. I love posting the pictures of people in their seatbelts on airplanes. It's like all this slack. I can get on it. I don't need a seatbelt extender. Not bothering the person next to me. Little things like that. And so you probably don't have to worry about Silver Dollar City now or getting stuck.
Well, there was another story I have too. So we were going on vacation. I think we were going to Vegas, and we were flying there. Well, we picked the seats in the emergency row because more leg room. Essentially, is why we picked it. Well, she asked the flight attendant for an extender because she needed one. We had to get up and move because of it being the emergency row, and you have to help people in case of emergency.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, we had to get up in front of the whole plane after everyone was boarded and get up and move. And it crushed me. Like I couldn't believe.
Yeah.
Because everyone's just standing like, we're trying to take off. Like, what's going on?
Right.
So that's another heart-wrenching story about, how positive the journey is once you make that decision.
Yeah. And little things that people that haven't struggled with their weight don't understand, like the seatbelt. I mean, it is that gives so much fear around getting on a plane for people. It's just unbelievable.
And yet, like Dr. Josh said, you don't want to bother people
Yeah.
on either side of you, and it's kind of like you have to just squeeze in and stay still the whole flight,
Right.
Well, that's what leads to not getting on an airplane and not traveling near as much and avoiding and withdrawing from life. And I mean, we see it all the time, and it's very real, and you block things like that out. I find it very interesting, though, that the spouse remembered that story. And I bet you have 50 more things that impacted you just as much as it did Tiffany. And I guess that's the thing to realize as the patient is it's a partnership, and you need to understand it's not just you going through the surgery, but your spouse is too. And so it's when you dial in like that, I think it works perfectly. So congrats to you two for
Thank you.
doing awesome.
And thank you too, Dr. Roller.
Oh, you're welcome. My pleasure.
Yes, congratulations. And thank
You
you,
too,
for
Laura.
joining us today. It was so much fun to have you guys on set and live in person.
I love that we're in
Yeah.
person. This
Yeah.
is super cool. And to be the
Yes.
first guest, it's super fun too.
Yes. All right, guys, I think that's all we have for today's episode, but I did just want to take a second to thank you guys so much for making this podcast what it has become. We truly appreciate you tuning in every Monday and listening and following. It has been so much fun, and we just found out that we're the top 5% in health and nutrition podcasts, which I think is a pretty big deal. And so we're super excited to see where this goes from here, and we just want to thank you for coming along on the journey with us.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us again on this episode of The Spouse and how they take part in the weight loss journey. We'd like to thank Tiffany and Stephan for joining us. I mean, I'm surrounded by a couple of all-star patients here. You don't do any better than this. And so thank you for sharing your stories. Thank you for joining us. Thanks to all of you for tuning in and listening. Remember, you can follow us on YouTube, the Apple Podcast channel, and Spotify. Like, share, subscribe, leave comments, ask questions. We will use those for future episodes. Thank you.